Hello and welcome again. I'm Philip Loyacano with TeaPartyHD. As you know all too well, a federal judge has now blocked the key provisions of the Arizona immigration law, SB1070. Let's hear what Sarah Palin's response was.
Well, this is a temporary suspension of some of the key elements in the law that Jan Brewer pushed hard for Arizonans and for the rest of the country to have the result of us being more secure. So, that's unfortunate that the judge chose those steps, but it is temporary, and Jan Brewer, bless her heart, she's going to do all that she can to continue down the litigation path to allow secure borders, because Jan Brewer has the cojones that our president does not have to look out for all Americans, not just Arizonans, but all Americans in this desire of ours to secure our borders and allow legal immigration to help build this country, as was the purpose of immigration laws. If our own president will not enforce a federal law, more power to Jan Brewer and 44 other states who are in line to help support Jan Brewer in state laws, state efforts to do what our president won't do.
A New York City panel voted unanimously to reject landmark status for a building near the World Trade Center site, paving the way for construction of a mosque and an Islamic community center. Opponents of the project, including 9/11 family members of victims of the September 11, 2001 terror attacks, have said the location would be insensitive. The mosque is slated to be part of an Islamic community center to be operated by a group called the Cordoba Initiative, which says the center will be a space for moderate Muslim voices. A few members of roughly 50 people who were attending the hearing applauded the ruling, while others shouted shame as Commission Chairman Robert Tierney called for the vote. The City Landmarks Preservation Commission then proceeded to vote 9-0 against granting landmark status to the site's 152-year-old building, which can now be ripped down to make way for the Islamic Center. Rick Bell, executive director of the New York chapter of the American Institute of Architects, said the building does not deserve landmark status. The nature of the current building isn't worth preserving. Mayor Michael Bloomberg supported the mosque construction, but the project has drawn opposition from former U.S. House Speaker Newt Gingrich and former Alaskan Governor Sarah Palin, among others. Be sure to stay tuned to TeaPartyHD as we will keep you up to date on this topic. Democratic Representative Pete Stark was faced with angry constituents at a recent town hall meeting in his own California district. Stark gave an answer about federal power that has spread rapidly throughout the conservative blogosphere. The federal government can do most anything in this country, he stated. Stark went on and nodded his head slowly as the room filled with applause. As it quieted, he said, "Well, I'm sure glad you're here to save it."
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Stark, I heard you say this morning that health care is now a right rather than a privilege because of the legislation that passed earlier this year. But such a right is actually beyond the power of the federal government to confer. And this is because, wait, let me finish, because this is because it necessarily infringes the inalienable rights of other people. How can legislation such as this be constitutional when it seems to be in direct conflict with the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if this legislation is constitutional, what limitations are there on the federal government's ability to tell us how to run our private lives?
I think that there are very few constitutional limits that would prevent the federal government from rules that could affect your private life. Now, the basis for that would be, how does it affect other people?
So the Constitution specifically enumerates certain powers to the federal government and leaves all other authority to the states. So the Constitution, or the people, so the Constitution is very limited in what it can do, sir. And it specifically prohibits slavery. And when you tell somebody you have a right to get a service from another, that's essentially saying you get to make that person do something for you. And sir, that is a form of slavery. So my question is, how can this law be constitutional? But more importantly than that, if they can do this, what can't they? Is your question, they can do any, is your answer that they can do anything?
The federal government, yes, can do most anything in this country.
People like you, sir, and people that think like you are destroying this nation.
I'm sure glad you're here to say that. Makes me feel very comfortable.
Yesterday, amongst the Tea Party endorsements of political candidates and other political happenings, a Mexican drug cartel threatens Sheriff Joe Arpaio's life. Threats against Arpaio are not so shocking, as they happen often. What is shocking is the $1 million price tag a Mexican cartel has put on Arpaio's head. While the Obama administration has yet to comment on the bounty, if they even choose to do so at all, the current cartel's death threat is a catastrophic wake-up call that our borders are not secure, and those who occupy it by their strength may have their way. Arpaio has always stood for the truth, well-being of Arizona, and our country even after an 18-month investigation by our government. Take a look at this developing story.
The audio message in Spanish is garbled, but the text is very clear.
It's offering $1 million for Sheriff Joe Arpaio's head, and offering $1,000 for anyone who wants to join the Mexican cartel.
This man, who wants to remain anonymous, says his wife got the text message on Tuesday evening. It also included an international phone number and instructions to pass the message along.
She showed it to me. I was kind of disgusted on it, and I reported it to the Sheriff's Department yesterday. They said that they were going to direct the threat squad on it.
The FBI is aware of it, and they're looking into it.
Lisa Allen of the Sheriff's Office says they believe the message originated in Mexico. And although the sheriff has received numerous death threats in the past, they believe this threat is credible because of its timing.
Arpaio gets threats pretty routinely, but, obviously, with this heightened awareness of his role in the immigration issue, we got to take this one a little bit more seriously with a $1 million contract out on him.
But Allen says what really concerns investigators is how quickly the message has been spread.
It's going so many different places that our folks are looking at it and thinking, well, at any given point in time, it could land in front of some crazy person who thinks, I can do that.
As for Arpaio's reaction to the threat?
It's a little bit like water off a duck's back for him, but that you never know if it's that sense of false bravado with him. You just can't read it. I'm sure he's concerned. I'm sure he's concerned for his family more than anything else.
Thanks for watching, and let's as a nation stick to why our forefathers fought so hard: the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. I'm Phil Loiacono. Have a great day.